Ok. Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Ins Justify the Memes, the show where the lowest of the low, that is the most wretched of wretched, and deplorable to end all deplorables. Two white heterosexual Christian males from the American South talk about culture, philosophy, history, health, fitness, and what it means to be a man in the 21st century. I'll be your host, Bill, and this is my producer and co host, Tank. So, crack open a beer and lend us your ear because the ends always justify the memes. So, how we doing, Tank?
Oh, I can't complain too much.
Yeah, drinking some scotch again.
Yeah, I'm on a run now, so I think I'm just gonna keep rolling with it. At least those bottles empty anyway. I might finish it off tonight.
Well, with that, we got some impromptu topics as usual. And I think we're going to talk about some tech censorship things. And I guess Tank found an interesting article about OnlyFans, and he wanted to talk about the misinformed or uninformed left, which was evident the other night by Hunter Avalon's performance on the Timcast IRL show. And I've watched Hunter over the years, and a few months ago, he said he's leaving the right, which he's not, because remember, folks, as Don from Plebeian Media says, if you are right of Mao, you are not left. And Hunter doesn't understand that. But it is true. By the way, speaking of Don, he did a live stream down in DC over the weekend, and he bumped up, I think he was around 3,000 or 4,000 subs. I started watching him back. He was about 1,000 subs a few months ago. But he bumped up to over 10,000 now. So congratulations to him. Hopefully I can get in contact with him. I am in his Discord server and get him on the show sometime. But with all that said, let's do some real fake news and start the Memecast news.
Here we are with some looks like a Pfizer advertisement.
Yes, it says, we're partnering to improve health for all and to put a smile back on your face. And the smile is the Bell's palsy smile. Not much of a smile, and I feel sorry for these folks. Go ahead and pull up the next one there, Tank. This is an actual tweet. Spiro, by the way, the tweeter of this, has an excellent channel over on YouTube. I cannot recall his last name, but he covers all of the Great Reset type stuff, all of the Koof stuff, and it's conspiracy minded. So if you don't like that stuff, or you think people are crazy for believing in alternative facts as opposed to what the mainstream media has, don't watch him. But if otherwise you are willing to go down the road less traveled, please go check his channel out. So it says 4 Pfizer vaccine volunteers develop Bell's palsy. Bell's palsy is a condition that causes a weakness or paralysis of muscles in the face. The condition causes one side of your face to droop or become stiff. And it says, don't worry, they can cover the deformity up with a mask. Oh,
that's rough.
my wife actually, yeah, it is. It is. My wife actually, one of her former employers, is taking part in a vaccine study. I don't know why. I know the dude, he's a smart guy, so, but whatever. And then, of course, this is the old Krumer saying, trust the science, with the Bell's palsy face.
Ooh. Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, that's a little
Well,
rough,
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel. I mean, I've seen some people that I respect pretty well that have said, "Hey, I'm going to get this vaccine," but I don't know. Like, I might wait till it's out a little while.
Yeah, man, it's your choice. Like, I'm not gonna crap on anyone
Yeah.
who gets it, but I am at the same time very skeptical. I don't know of any coronavirus ever that has ever had a vaccine. Well,
Well, I'm trying to get this meme to load, but it's not one. There we go.
I'm about to say my live stream, it paused there for a minute. But yeah, I don't know anyone who's ever, or I don't know of any case where they've ever rushed a vaccine either, where it's been safe. There is the excuse me, there is the 1969 Spanish flu pandemic. I believe that was the Spanish flu that came back around, and they were telling people to get vaccinated, and several thousand people ended up having severe neurological issues due to the vaccine. And they are saying now that the vaccine is not actually making you immune to the virus, but is allowing you to basically have a better resistance, which means you can also still spread the virus, which means the vaccine is absolutely pointless, other than you risk or you could potentially have a higher chance of survival. That is, anyone under the age of 70 who already has a 99.9% of survival. So I don't see the point. It's it's kind of a scary thing to push this stuff, and would be one of my criticisms of the Dawn.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you want to get completely conspiratorial, what's the odds that the reason why they're saying, oh, you can actually get it only ups your resistance? Well, I'm already pretty resistant to it. Like, why do I need to up that even more? Which would make sense if they were saying, oh, well, if you're type 2 diabetic and 370 pounds, you probably need to get this vaccine. Okay, that makes sense. But everyone get the vaccine to up resistance? That seems a little sketchy.
Or like I've pretty much advocated from the beginning, protect those like you do normally who are vulnerable. That would be the elderly, those who are 65 and above, and those especially 70 and above, and provide it to them. But frankly, all of this is a great overreach in my mind. And the fact that we're talking about potentially having, vaccination passports, or your job might require it, or whatever else, is just absolutely insane. And I've been ill before, pretty bad, pretty severely, and never had a vaccination for the illnesses that I had that I thought I was going to die from. So never been hospitalized though. But again, my choice, right? My body, my choice. And not what
Right.
the feminists say.
Supposedly.
Yeah. So, anyways, this meme here, it says you should wear a mask even if you don't need it. You mean like carrying a gun?
Oh, snap.
That's right. And then the next one. Are you an anti-masker? No, I'm a pro-facer. Are you an anti-fascist?
That's a little cheesy.
Yes. Yes, it is. But it goes in line. So, next meme. Hopefully we're having better meme quality this week than last week, which was a disaster, but
it's still taking some time to load, but whatever. There we go.
So it says, when I hear someone say the government would never do that, and it has MK Ultra, poisoning foster children, MK Naomi, Operation Northwoods, Tuskegee experiment. Tuskegee experiments, folks, was quite horrible if you look into that. Poisoning of St. Louis, Operation Mockingbird, and so forth. Frankly, I think you're very naive if you trust the government for about anything.
Right.
I'm one of those individualists, though. One of those classical liberals who wants to leave you alone, wish to take over the world, leaving you alone.
Well,
quite evil, aren't I?
Yeah, quite evil. All right.
So this one says, "I'm from the government, and I'm here to buy your guns with your money," which is good enough. He says, "Sorry, I can't sell you. I can't sell them to you. You didn't pass my background check with your history of mass murder and violence. But you have a nice day."
Oh. Yeah, that's it would be funny if it worked in that direction, right?
Yeah, yeah. but they are allowed to be the violent ones. And don't get me wrong, that is part of the quote unquote social contract, that we obfuscate our personal responsibility of violence to the government. However, at the same time, there's a reason for that, because the government, if the government is set up to protect liberty, they should be the ones, with a jury of peers and all that kind of stuff, to set forth justice. The problem is we don't have that. We have a government that only cares about its own power. And case in point, right here, it says, reminder, this is what you are faced or forced to see while riding a New York City subway. And my Lord, this is terrible. It's okay to be fully committed to an open relationship. It's okay not to date a man who won't vote for a woman. Okay. It's okay to choose Mr. Right. Hold on. Based on how far he leans left. Yes, Mr. Right leans left. It's okay for your pronouns to mean more than your profile pic. Well, my pronouns, as I always say, is His Royal Majesty and Your Royal Majesty. So don't you dare screw that up, or I will sue you. That's insane, though. That's a public transit system.
Well, my thing is, all right, so ignoring that everything that says is stupid, why would you want to take relationship advice from the wall of a subway?
Yeah, what it is, though, take is it's utter pure propaganda in your face, and it's to tell you what your values are supposed to be, brought to you by the government.
Right.
The same government that would destroy your small business during this pandemic, bomb other nations for wanting them to go to a gold standard, a standard free of centralized banking. What nation was that? Oh yeah, Libya doesn't exist anymore. In fact, they have an open slave trade there. Um, I'm not taking moral advice from government sycophants who don't really care about what the reality of life is for the average daily soul. And I don't want to hear it from people with wealth either. And I mean wealth like people who are in like the upper middle class, who won't be hurt by much of this stuff for quite a while to come.
Right.
In any case, this meme keeps blocking in and out on the live stream. But
yeah, that I'm just loading more is what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, it says, reporter, Mrs. O'Neill, what's your opinion about BLM? Actually, it's complex. Baby grabs mic. F communists.
What the fuck?
Or it says effing communist. Yeah.
Oh, we have lost Bill. I cannot do memes alone. Let's see if we can get him back. Okay, we're back.
Seems to always happen during the meme cast.
I guess so.
Let's see. Got my live stream up. Yep, we're running just fine there. All right. Says today we learned Hunter Biden is under investigation. The FBI admitted to have Seth Rich's laptop. Eric Swalwell's girlfriend was a Chinese spy, and Eric Swalwell isn't gay. Funny how all of those things were facts beforehand. How fitting.
Well, yeah, we'll get into this whole media narrative stuff here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting that all of a sudden we find out that Hunter Biden's been under investigation for 2 years.
Amazing. Amazing that wasn't an issue before. Prior to the election.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fake news then. Then after the election, not fake news.
Well, you know how that goes. We'll get into that, but yeah, here we go. So what's this Shrek meme about?
90% of millennial couples look like this.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, it's true. I don't even know who this little guy is. I don't even know if I've seen the last couple of Shreks, though, whatever they
How
are.
many Shreks are there? Like 30? I don't even know anymore.
Like 500. I mean, I had a daughter, so, well, I still have a daughter, but she's older now, so going to see a Shrek movie isn't on the priority.
Right.
Um, but yes. And this is strange because I watched a video the other day of someone yelling at someone about mask or whatever. And I saw another video of this guy that just seemed very feminine. And it is quite strange that our society is going this way. Like, I know that there are real men out there still. And of course, they come in all shapes and sizes. But there is this ridiculous trend of feminine men and masculine women. And
Yeah.
if you ask someone like Camille Paglia on top of that, with all of the transgenderism and all that kind of stuff, this is very much common at the collapse and end of societies. This happens. So, and if you guys don't know who Camille Paglia is, she is a one of the second wave feminists who was a quite brilliant lady actually, who isn't a wokeist or a woke scold. Her and Christine Hoff Summers, and she's been in some trouble over years because she doesn't align with the female superiority uh, narrative, if you would. So in any case, the next meme helps. There's someone in my help. There's someone in my house. There isn't a gun in the home. No, we don't believe in guns. Well, get ready to believe in death because we won't be there for another 15 minutes.
Yeah, you know, did Biden ever say if he was going to make what's his name? Who's that guy from Texas? Beto. Did he ever actually make Beto his gun czar?
No, I don't think so. But there was a leaked. There's an interesting leaked video I saw on the Hill today. Crystal Ball covered it briefly in their little segment on their show Rising. Her and what's his name, Sager, or I think that's his name. I always forget his name. Anyways, she talked about how in this video this leaked audio, I should say, he was saying that he couldn't use executive orders because against the Constitution, but he was going to repeal a bunch of Trump executive orders, which is an interesting stance. But then she complained about it, that, oh no, Biden can do, but what, Biden won't even try, blah blah blah. It's for the courts to decide. And I don't like that approach either. I think that the president should restrain himself. It's actually one of the first things I've heard from Biden that I actually like, because I'm fair, folks. I'm not an ideologue, and I'm not on one side or the other. I take the issues as they come. In any case, Biden said that they could not just ban assault weapons through executive order. If he's going to repeal Trump's executive orders, I wonder if he's going to get rid of that bump stock ban. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
So, anyways, here this Amy Siskind. I don't know. I just saw this going around, so I grabbed it. It says proposed map. New York and California are sick of supporting these red welfare states, which is funny on its own. And then, you know, you have the United States of Canada and Jesus land, and I'm all for it. All for it. Because when your socialism fails you, and it will, and all the agriculture that you have to buy from us in Jesus land, and the coal that we produce and all that stuff that you need, and when everyone in your, you know, beautiful nation starts starving themselves to death because they got rid of fossil fuels and they can't essentially use agriculture themselves because there's machines to get the grains to be harvested and then on your doorstep via transportation stops existing, you might rethink your position. It's kind of what Kizza was often talks about on our streams. You know, let these people have their cake. Let them have the things that they want. It's just this is just
yeah. Well, and the thing about that, I mean, not to be that, you know, stick in the mud that dissects memes, but a lot of that blue area they're calling the United States of Canada is the same kind of flyover country that they don't like here. You know, like what's the difference between, you know, a lot of that area and, you know, Nebraska, except that it's colder.
Well, one of the big differences is the Canadian government is far more totalitarian and can get away with quite a lot, and has been moving, well, has been left for decades. And like their conservatives over there, our conservatives are bad in the United States, don't get me wrong, but their conservatives over there are like slightly left-wing Democrats, right?
Yeah.
There's no real conservatism. In fact, their last PM before Trudeau was rather conservative comparatively, and finally brought the value of the Canadian dollar up. And I think that's gone now, because that used to always be a joke when I was growing up that the Canadian dollar was worth half as much as the American.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I mean, Canada's a lovely country. Too cold for me during most of the year, but I'm a I'm a fan of Montreal. I wouldn't want to live there, but it's fun to visit.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the,
I-
like, you know, Nova Scotia looks nice. I mean, I love hockey, so you know it is what it is. But yeah, I don't think that plan that they have there would go over the way they think it would. But whatever.
yeah. So next meme here. It says, "I was jumped by 6 men with man buns. They put skinny jeans around my neck, doused me with a soy latte, and said, 'This is Biden country.' They rode off on electric scooters." And yeah, this is just about as likely
as
here in West Virginia. Well, go ahead.
that's about as likely as Juicy getting
Yes, Juicy Smollett. It's about as likely in West Virginia as it was in Chicago, Illinois, when that happened. But next meme: salesperson of the month for Utah. Oh, oh, Governor Newsom.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
And
know,
that's why. Go ahead.
I just can't. I couldn't imagine living, you know, like living there. Just the housing prices alone. Like when I hear people talk about, oh, you know, a house in L.A., like a 1-bedroom apartment's like, you know, $1,500 a month or something. It's just insane.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, and it's all because it was a red state. It was a relatively free state. Got a great climate, and people were moving there in droves for a long time. Not necessarily to L.A. or Hollywood, but other parts. What destroyed California was massive illegal immigration. Like, there's always been migrant workers, folks. That's always existed in United States history, but you cannot basically outsource all of your jobs for a wage that's lower than when you set a minimum wage. And so you have that. You have massive government regulation for businesses, and then you have high taxes and social welfare. And of course, we've seen over the last decade a huge amount of homelessness there. So California in the 1980s or 1970s was still a dreamland, and since the 1990s, since essentially the neoliberals took over, um, it's not a good place to live anymore, man.
Yeah.
And that's why the meme that we just had with the Jesus land and the United States of Canada is so important. And people talk about like climate change and all that as well with California, because they've gone through droughts and stuff. And I'm like, you live in an irrigated desert. This has nothing to do with climate change. You literally live in a desert. Like, let's get some things straight, folks. Let's not go off in the la la land and pretend like, oh, we're in a drought this year, climate change. No, no, no. You live in a desert that people essentially, for lack of a better word, terraformed to make livable. You know?
Yeah. So what's this
Oh,
about groping women?
well, he only gropes women. Next meme.
That's it. That's it for that one.
We gotta throw a little Michelle in there every now and again, or Michael. What? I want to make sure I use the proper names here. I'm not sure. Um. So here we have old Klaus Schwab, the 99-year-old re-suitor. You will own nothing and be happy. Hates privacy. Freedom is slavery. Stay at home. You will eat meat only occasionally as a treat to save the climate. Defines things as old or new. I guess is old. Eats bugs. Soothing German accent. Everyone wants this. That is old Klaus Schwab, of course. And I like it because there are photos of him. I'm not even sure, wearing this creepy Star Wars Emperor outfit.
Yeah,
Speaking of all,
I don't get why he dresses like a necromancer from Skyrim. Like, what's the purpose?
because he is.
Okay.
Because science is the new alchemy. Science is the new magic. Didn't you ever read The Tempest?
I guess I didn't.
Yeah. How dare you? Folks, you should all be well read in Shakespeare. That's all I have to say. It is quite literally the foundation of our language, like written language. So here we just have old Joe Biden sniffing the old Baphomet, you know?
Oh, Baphomet there.
Just a little sniffy sniff. And if you don't know, this means as above, so below, for those of you who aren't well versed in the occult. And he's got one hand down. When you got that hand down and one hand up, that's what that means. All right. Speaking of the occult, it says case for Biden's sainthood opened at Vatican after he raises millions from the dead on election day.
This cannot be serious.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay, I'm about to say, oh my God, I almost felt. I mean, I just don't trust. I don't trust the Pope. So
no, I consider the papacy an occult organization. And sorry, any Catholics out there that may watch this later on. Your relationship with Christ and God is your own, and you do not find salvation through the church, folks. That's not how that works, and you certainly don't find it through a man who claims to be God on earth, who claims to be the vicar of Christ, literally the representative of Christ. And in my understanding of blasphemy, that is exactly what blasphemy means. It means proclaiming that you are God. So let's go to the next one. Now, this is real. This is a real tweet. This is actually a screenshot I took myself. So 100% verified. To help our society to build back better, inclusion of the vulnerable must entail efforts to promote their active participation. You just skipped over a meme tag.
Oh, no. I'll get it. Hold on. I got it right here. Check this out. It's coming.
Put them in an order for a reason.
There we go. So you were saying, I took this one myself, this real screenshot, and I was looking at the Eric Swalwell, and I just assumed that was
right. All right.
I just assumed that's what you're talking about.
No, I saw this, and I wanted to confirm it, so I went and I actually took the screenshot.
Right.
It's funny because there was a comment underneath this. It was like one of the top comments that came up on my Twitter. It was like something about, I guess I can't trust the Pope anymore. And I'm like, why would you trust the Pope in the first place? Do you understand what the papacy is? What it was, what it's always been? I mean, and I get it. Like, my wife comes from a Catholic family, and a very Catholic family, and they will say things that is completely antithetical to biblical Christianity or anything the early church fathers wrote, but yet they believe it because the church has supremacy. How does Orthodoxy see that, by the way?
So, obviously the Orthodox Church is not sola scriptura in the Martin Luther sense. So it's
I just to say something there. I don't even actually believe in sola scriptura myself.
I mean, but So there definitely is. So kind of the way that the Orthodox Church use it is that, you have to have the church. You can't. It's the church and Scripture together is where you find your path, basically, in very simplistic terms. And my understanding is the Roman Catholic Church kind of does that the same way too. But we have so much that we don't agree on that I don't even know how that works out.
Right. To me, the church itself is the ecclesia, or just the people. I don't have a problem with the Orthodox faith per se. I think they believe in some things that aren't correct, but uh, I don't know everything
Yeah.
about the Orthodox faith either. I was looking into going to a few Orthodox churches in my area. There's a Celtic Orthodox church in my area, which is interesting.
I've never even heard of that. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, they're part of the Eastern Orthodox tradition, but they're from the Celtic line, from Ireland, I guess. Um, but all those churches were shut down because of the coup. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, for me, I see that it's always meant to be decentralized, and that would be my main thing with the Orthodox Church, is that it does have more of a structure than I would like to see. But so do a bunch of Protestant churches. I mean, it's just too much structure, too much
Yeah.
centralization. I'm generally always going to be against that,
Yeah.
no
Well.
matter where it's at.
Yeah. I grew up Southern Baptist. And there's no structure.
Right.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, if you sat down with your average Southern Baptist and you were like, hey, what is fundamentally the difference between you and say a Presbyterian or whatever, they probably couldn't tell you. I mean, we never learned about that growing up. So, I mean, the Orthodox Church, I guess, could be argued that it is decentralized because there's so many different archbishops that it's regionally broke up. It's not centralized in the same way that the Catholic Church is, but it does
Right.
definitely
Well,
has more.
because right. Well, they also don't have the wealth that the Catholic Church
Yeah.
has. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. And do they allow? I don't agree with the idea of just having. I think all saints are priests, and I think all people in Christ are saints.
Yeah.
That from a biblical standpoint, but don't they have don't the Orthodox Church ordain priests and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean priests have to be educated for sure, yeah.
Right. See, I think scripturally
Yeah.
priests are anyone and everyone in the church, as well as saints. But do they allow their priests to marry?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why the Catholic Church doesn't is a matter of wealth, a matter of property rights.
Could be,
So
yeah.
if you have children, you have to pass down your property rights to your children traditionally, right?
Yeah.
And that means that the Vatican would not have that kind of power. Speaking of which, I have another channel that I haven't started yet, but I've had sitting around for a long time, that will probably specifically talk about historical perspectives on the church. And man, I was doing some research on the Vatican. It's kind of gross that the head of the Catholic Church is in Vatican City, because that was not it was a place of like gladiator games and other stuff like that,
Yeah.
and mass tombs and all kinds of crazy stuff. Very, very occultish, very pagan. But anyways, so yeah, we have Eric Smallwell up, and I need not say more. Um so next meme is vote back mountain. Fraud is a force of nature. Fake Gyllenflaw and cheat
Cheat
Hedger.
hedger. Nope. Okay. So we got next here.
Well, we have the Time Person of the Year.
It's got somebody extra in there, it looks like.
Oh, no. He was there in the original. You just have to put on the special glasses to see, kind of like in They Live.
Right.
They Live. But I put this through a filter so you could see them.
Okay,
You know?
good. Yeah, good. Okay.
Right. Xi Jinping, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, changing America's story. Honestly, I think that I started thinking this. I did hear this mention on um, on Tim Pool's nightly stream, but I started thinking, that might the Hunter Biden thing might be the thing that they use to kick Biden out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's not illness, if it's not him being sick, if it's not his dementia, it might be this whole scandal.
Mhm.
And then guys, you got President Kamala. Kamala.
Kamala. Is it
Yes.
Kamala? I don't know.
I don't care. It's Black Hillary as far as I'm concerned. All right. And lastly, but not least, it's President-elect Macho Man Randy Savage.
This one was going to be the one to get us taken off YouTube for sure.
Oh, whatever. It's a joke. Susan, I think we're too tiny to get noticed.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we did get kicked off the first time we went live, but I think it's because I was talking about things without context with you because apparently your mic wasn't working and we didn't know because we don't know what we're doing, folks. Anyways, go ahead and play that outro.
And we're back.
We are back. All right, Tank. So you had some topics.
Well, I don't know if it's a whole topic, but I did want to discuss this article about what I found about this guy who basically ran the economics of OnlyFans, and basically what he's saying is that no one on OnlyFans makes any money.
Yeah, well, I would say that kind of, from my understanding, works the same way with like YouTube. Unless you get super chats, generally speaking, the ad revenue is not that great, even if you're a really big channel. It used to be better. Obviously, if you're PewDiePie, you're probably making some bucks. But yeah.
Well, the thing that I find interesting about that, okay, so yeah, on YouTube, if you're PewDiePie, you're making a bunch of money, and we're not. But the thing about it is, we know what we're getting into with this. We're on here talking shit. If someone wants to send us some super chat money, that's great, whatever. But right. I'm seeing all these articles from, in the New York Times, or maybe not New York Times, but a couple articles I've seen floating around Twitter, talking about, how this person had to turn to OnlyFans because they wouldn't make enough money to make ends meet. And all these people on Twitter saying, oh, yeah, I have to do it because I have to pay back my student loans, or I have to, whatever it is. Woe is me kind of stuff. Statistically, that person who's saying that is not making any money. And at most, they're making like $130 extra a month, which if you live in, one of these major metropolises, isn't going very far. So I can't make those two things line up in my mind. And it's probably because it's bullshit, I'm sure. But it's weird that this narrative being pushed that, all these women are having to go on OnlyFans to sell pictures of their titties, but no one's making any money, so why are they doing it?
Yeah, well, there are some folks, some ladies especially, that are definitely exhibitionist, right?
Right, yeah.
We had a meme a while back. I can't even remember her name, but she's some model that she's got a nice butt. She's basically famous because she's got a nice butt.
Right.
Right. And I put the meme up because it wasn't necessarily just a meme. She actually like put on her Instagram, she put on her Instagram stories talking about men objectifying women when her whole entire career is being objectified. And then she said, well, it's gross that men do this. They shouldn't do this, blah, 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 blah. You should look at it artfully. I'm like, I actually do as an artist. I see like a pretty woman, like I see a proportionate woman, and I can see that, but it doesn't mean that I don't have something in the back of my brain, especially when I was younger, like less driven this way now. But something in the back of my brain and be like, oh wow, that whole thing. And it's interesting that there's this disconnect, but you see it with selfies all the time too. Women are trying to get self-worth from all this. And I talked to you right before the stream about this. So there is a band called uh Tech Noir, or is it Gunship? I was
Gunship.
Gunship. Tech Noir is the first song I heard of theirs. That's why
Yeah.
I screwed up. And they did a video called Dark All Day, which has this great music video to it that's animated. It's about the Lost Boys kind of thing and whatever else. And there's this singer, Indiana, over in the UK, a pop star who does in the videos. So I started following her on Instagram, and now she has an OnlyFans account, and I'm pretty sure she does nothing but porn on there. And I, why do you need to do that if you are making money other ways, or um couldn't you get a deal with like Playboy or something and do a one-time thing, get paid a couple G's or whatever to model nude, if that's what you want to do? I just don't get the draw there. And then, like I said, there are some women who I think are just exhibitionists who want to do that. Maybe she is too. Her Instagram isn't that spicy. It's mostly about like music projects she puts out and whatever. But um, I don't get it. And I have seen, like, we've talked about, there's a kind of running joke that Tank has an OnlyFans account. But I have seen where other people, because have seen certain personalities I've looked at, they're like OnlyFans, and it's a dude who's like a health and fitness kind of guy. And I'm like, what in the world? So I've gone and looked at it, and it's nothing at all to do with pornography. But there's, we could be on OnlyFans, technically.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be pornography. But that's the primary purpose, right?
Yeah. Well, so I can kind of understand the temptation if you were like Indiana, or you were some other kind of person who had a pretty big following. Not, I mean, pretty big for social media, so maybe you're kind of Instagram famous or whatever. And the temptation is, oh, well, if I get on here and sell pictures, or I take pictures of my titties or whatever, then I could stand to make a lot of money. And that seems to be the people that do make a lot of money. It's people that already have a big following, like Belle Delphine or something. If she wanted to get on OnlyFans, and she makes a shit ton of money anyway, but she could make a lot of money on OnlyFans.
Belle confuses me because she looks like a little girl to me.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
But people like that who already have a big following could get on OnlyFans and make a lot of money. And that seems to be people. So I get that temptation, like, oh, well, I could double my yearly income if I just, sell lewds or nudes or whatever. But I don't believe for 1 second that your average, even good-looking EMT stands to make so much on OnlyFans that they feel like this is a necessity.
Yeah, and I've seen that too. Like I've seen people I'm like Facebook friends with, or Instagram or whatever. Like I'll put it this way. I have people that I've got social media contacts with when I was single some years ago, that I either had dated briefly or talked to for a little bit or whatever. And I see their stuff pop up, and I see time and time again these young girls, and they're like mid-20s, putting themselves out on OnlyFans. And I'm like, you can do what you want to do by all means. But I've also seen the same thing with Patreon too, because you could do pornography on Patreon. Isn't that how Belle Delphine started off, more or less?
Yeah, but I don't know if she's ever done pornography. Like, I don't think she's ever actually done.
She's done nudity, dude. She's done.
Has she?
She definitely has, and she's done I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty certain she's done masturbation stuff at
Oh,
least.
okay. Isn't she like
So she's
a
not done
did
maybe like full on hardcore someone actually sleeping with her, her boyfriend or fiance. But yeah, I'm pretty sure she's done that stuff. Um, and curiously too, with her, I watched the thing on YouTube a while back, someone documenting her, and she disappeared for a while, and then she came back, I guess, recently.
yeah,
I guess maybe her and her fiance spent too much money.
could
I
very
don't
well
know.
be it. Yeah.
But there is another. I can't remember his name. There's a guy that I watched a bunch of his stuff in the past where he actually covers the OnlyFans stuff. Because it was Bella Thorne, the actress, who got essentially OnlyFans to put a cap because a lot of people were
Yeah.
putting a lot of famous people. Who's the WAP? I can't even think of her name.
Nicki
Cardi
Minaj.
B, Mickey Minaj. Is it
Yeah.
Mickey Minaj or Cardi B?
Maybe it is. I'm not sure. One of those two.
I don't know because I don't really. I only
Yeah.
know these people in passing, right? But anyways, one of those people. They were putting up pictures, and they were like, "Oh yeah, $5,000 to like see my picture." So this guy created this whole YouTube review channel of, "Do you want to subscribe or not?"
Yeah.
to OnlyFans, and it was rather objective. Oh, I know why that is. Never mind. Sorry, I thought the stream went out, and that's because when I go on dark mode on D Live, it screws up. Anyways, but this guy was like, he'll cover, is it worth it? Do these people actually get naked? Is it just spicy photos? Is it this or that? Um, in any case, like I said, not everyone does that, and people are paying or have been paying thousands of dollars. I don't get it. I don't get the simping personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
I would never do it. Absolutely.
well, I can understand if some dude is like really has like a celebrity crush or something like that on somebody or whatever, and they're like for 10 or $20 or whatever it is, they're like, I want to see this girl naked. I get that. I understand that. But with these celebrities and whatever else, or like I don't understand. And I don't understand also why these people get wrapped up into thinking they're going to be able to have a relationship with these folks. Um, and the YouTube channel, it's a Gundam. He talks about this a lot, about all the e-thoughts. Um, Stu from It's a Gundam, like he's pretty funny as well, making fun of
Yeah.
him. But like there was one he was covering a while back where this girl who was a YouTuber and like Twitch streamer and whatever else was actually sleeping with like three different guys. And like she had a boyfriend, then she had this other guy on the side, then she had this other guy who was paying her a lot of money. And they're stringing these guys along. And I can tell you, no woman respects you if you do this stuff. Like it just they don't really they might have sex with you. I'm not saying they won't. Prostitution is the oldest business, the oldest profession in history, right? But I don't think there's a lot of dignity in it on both sides of the aisle. So, um, and that's essentially what if you're sexualizing yourself on OnlyFans. Like I said, there are guys. I've literally gone on there and looked because I was like, what? This guy isn't like he's getting naked? No, no. You go to his content. Sometimes it's free, and others you can tip or whatever. And it's like that's just his content.
Yeah.
I mean, we might need to get on that with the way YouTube's going. I mean, seriously.
Well, I mean, I kind of get that. Like here's this website where it kind of works like Patreon. Like you can get on there and you can do, cooking videos, whatever it is. That is, but it seems to be that, all these girls on Twitter that are talking about starting OnlyFans, they're not cooking. They're, and like for me, maybe it's just because I'm like not good looking and no one would want to see me naked or anything like that. But if I was a young lady, if I was an attractive young lady, and I didn't already have 500,000 Instagram followers or something like that, I'm gonna look at OnlyFans and I'm debating on putting myself on there, and then I see people like Bella Thorne do it, well, I wouldn't even feel, I don't think you could feel like you could compete with that, and I don't think many people can. I think that's kind of why it was such of a blow up. Um, but I mean, really, that's kind of the way it works out. Like these people, like Bella Thorne, who are huge. That there's plenty of dudes out there already that's like, yeah, I'd pay a $10 a month or whatever it is to see this chick naked. I get that, but I
Oh
don't.
no, actually, that makes me wonder what Bella Thorne's.
Yeah, let's
OnlyFans
find
is.
that out. This is some good information. But
No, but I mean, if you want to see her naked, you don't think you can go find that online somewhere, anyways, for free? Is my thing.
absolutely,
Like,
and that's what I don't get about. Like, even if you're like a hardcore simp, you're like, I want to see this girl naked specifically. I would go pirate it. Like, I mean, like, surely you can find someone that'll like give you a copy of a photo.
my thing is like, I don't know. I think Bella Thorne's attractive to me. But my thing is like, y- what's her worth and value? Yeah, it says here subscription $10 per month. So, but what's her worth and value other than her sexuality? And that, like, I get it, folks. I get it. Like, I was a young guy. I was a very promiscuous guy for a time being in my early 30s. Not really when I was young, but after I separated from my first wife, I was also destroyed, heartbroken, all this other stuff that had happened for that 7-year relationship. I wasn't completely a man whore because I did have girlfriends that I was faithful to, but I had issues that I had to work through. And for me, women was my distraction. It was my drug of choice, if you would. So coming from that past and that history, I kind of get it. But there's no satisfaction in it in the end. And I don't understand like these young men. Like for me, I made a mistake. I had certain goals in life. And for me, I literally got involved with somebody who was utterly destructive and crazy and whatever else because of my lust for her. And that's a bad, really bad way to go. And to like lust after some figure, some star, some starlight, whatever,
Right.
is stupid, especially with the way like women. I mean, I guess it depends, but I would say largely women, a lot of young women, take care of themselves way better than they have in the past. A lot of them are far more fit. They're um into making themselves more appealing. There's ebb and flows in society with this. Don't get me wrong, but there are just all kinds of beautiful women out there, and um, generally, to my mind, most guys that I have met and known, like I'd say 99, 90 to 95%, just want a girl they find attractive and who is cool and just chill with
Yeah.
them. And in women's mind, it's like, I got to be the most sexual thing or whatever, or otherwise I blame men and I got to do this, I got to do that. I'll tell you what, if you respect yourself and you act like a man, you'll get a lot more women than you would believe. And most very, very beautiful women aren't even worth your time anyways. They're just not good people. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. That's
I'm
the,
literally speaking from experience. Like I've had so many awful, awful girlfriends.
you know how dudes have these conversations about girls. They're like, yo, rate that girl, or would you or would you not, have sex with
No
that girl,
girls do
whatever.
the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
They like
I,
Star Wars, but yeah.
I had a buddy, a guy I went to college with. He was a army paratrooper, ex-army paratrooper. He's like just a cool dude, right? Um, and we'd comment on women. We'd say, hey, do you think she's attractive, or how do you feel about this girl, whatever. And his reply was always, man, I'm not picky.
I know so many guys like that.
Yeah,
They'll get anything they can take, and I never understood that. But I will say, as I got older, my standards did lax, only in that I could appreciate different types of beauty. Like I have a very kind of specific type. I like petite women,
mm,
particularly. Um, I'm more of a butt man than a boob man. That all that kind of stuff, right? I'm really into eyes. If a woman has very pretty eyes, I'll probably find her very attractive. I've been through my phases with brunettes, redheads, blondes. I'm married to a brunette. You know, my wife's a pretty attractive woman. She's she's a very lovely woman. But uh, regardless of all that, I've dated women of all different shapes and sizes. I've dated thicker girls, thinner girls, whatever. In the end, I think what I found out was your personality and our goals together are far more important than how striking you are, you know, because a woman can be quite beautiful and be a complete jerk to you and treat you like, you know, dog do. And also I I hate to say this, but sexual chemistry I think is highly overrated. Um like you could have amazing sexual chemistry with somebody, but it's not a reason to be in a relationship. And again, speaking from experience in my past life, uh like just because a woman's pretty does not mean your experience with her sexually is going to be good. Um there is a thing as I think chemistry exists as far as like kissing or touching or whatever else, but in the end it's not the most important thing. If you want to have children, you want a life together with somebody, you need to pick someone that you can do that with. And the other stuff is, you know, icing on the cake. It's the cherry on top. And I don't think that it's nearly as important.
We're back. We're back. I had a little bit of a snafu there for a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just find this being the degeneracy and the lack of a moral center that we have in our society. That a lot of these young girls will just be like, "Oh yeah, I'll get an OnlyFans and make maybe $10 a month or whatever it is that they make."
Yeah. Well, that's what this article is saying.
Pull it up, Tank, if you can.
Yeah, I can. Let me. It won't be. Let me.
Just so people can find it.
Let me get it pulled up here. But this article is basically saying, you know, outside of the top, you know, 10, 30% or whatever the high number is, you know, these girls might be making like $135 a month. And when you factor in how much time they're having to spend to make that much money, basically the argument this guy's making is, how in the world could this be worth it? Let me get it here.
Well, again, if you're a excuse me, if you're someone who likes being an exhibitionist, or if you like teasing men because it gives you a sense of power, or if you have low self-respect or self-esteem, I don't like the word self-esteem, but if you have those things and you get men's attention, it kind of validates you, and people are looking for the wrong kind of validation today.
Mm.
And so, yeah, if you make $10 or $130 or whatever it is a month, then maybe that's some sort of validation. Are you finally getting it up here?
Yeah, I got it up here. So I'll kind of go down here and hit the highlights. So this is just like some guy's blog, but apparently some kind of data dude or whatever. Rise of e-girls, blah, blah, blah. All right, so one of the things he goes into is how much OnlyFans makes off these girls. So OnlyFans apparently takes a 20% cut, and that's crazy. He's saying that is higher than even like Uber or Airbnb or something like that. Let's see here. It kind of talks about the background. Let me get to where it's actual. Let me get to the chart. So here it is. Most creators probably lose money.
But they lose money because they're wasting time, but that's a perception.
Okay, yeah.
That they may not understand,
yeah,
right?
So most accounts take home less than $145 per month after commission. The modal revenue is $0. And the next most common is $4.99. They put hours in it. Well, this I might debate. Creators put hours into each post. If you're taking pictures of yourself, you might not be doing that. However, if you want to take good pictures, a lot of these girls might be hiring photographers. In which case, I would almost guarantee they're losing money.
I think most of them just use their boyfriends.
Yeah.
Or some guy they're screwing around with. But yeah.
Now he does argue that he couldn't calculate tips, but he says that tips are basically you get them from one-on-one interactions, and the amount of time you have to put in those one-on-one interactions to get the tips probably doesn't pay off. He talks. Let me find the. Let me control F here. This is actually pretty eye-opening. All right, so I'll read this paragraph. So he says the top 1% of accounts make 33% of all the money. The top 10% accounts make 73% of all the money. This is like it's not an 80-20, it's an 80-14. So this is the part that stood out the most to me. The standard way to measure inequality of an economy is with the Gini index. And we've all heard about this. Or is it Gini? Gini? Whatever.
Gini, I believe, is the proper pronunciation, yeah.
An index of 0 implies a communist utopia. A value of 1 implies a single greedy capitalist owns all the wealth. The Gini index of Onlyfans is 0.83. The most unequal society in the world, South Africa, the Gini index is 0.68. Onlyfans is less equal than an ex-apartheid state.
Yeah, the anytime you go above 0.4, so that's 40%. It's measured on a scale of 1, but anytime you go above 0.4, you start seeing an increase in violence.
Yeah.
Now that wouldn't necessarily happen with OnlyFans, but
and there's probably something to be said about comparing, countries' economies to OnlyFans, whether or not how true that is. But I think it does kind of drive a point home that it's basically a pyramid scheme, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I've talked about this before, though, in that you can actually use the Gini index to be applied to a number of things, including marriage, and the number of single men versus married men. And when that gets too high, especially if you have a polygamous society where men have multiple wives and there aren't available wives to young single men, you get violence as well, and it's applied directly the same way. We could see that in a number of things. Maybe it's not marriage, but girlfriends. Maybe we could see that in I don't know, those who have some sort of status versus no status at all. Meaning, we can look at that on a certain economic level of like where you're at within your job, or the number of people that are in charge. How oppressive is it? Because that's really what the Gini index is looking at, is absolute the difference between those folks who are basically cut out of the system, disenfranchised, versus those who have a stake in it. And when only a few people have a stake in it, people tend to get violent.
Yeah.
One way or another. So
having read that, I don't know. I just can't. When I'm bullshitting on Twitter for 12 hours a day, and I see all these girls talking about OnlyFans, like OnlyFans in the news. You're talking about people having to go into it to put food on the table or whatever. I just can't reconcile what I'm reading here with the perception that women give about OnlyFans.
yeah, well, it's interesting too, because I had a meme. I don't think we ended up using it, or if I had it stacked, you had it. It was the other week when things weren't going well, but with the memes. But it's something like your grandmother fought to be for equal rights to work and whatever else, blah blah blah. And the only way that you can live now is that create an OnlyFans account.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of that is reality.
Right.
I think that the third wave feminists have basically, I think feminism in general, the use of the word and its meaning, feminism, sexual equality. Well, why is it then gendered?
Yeah.
Egalitarian is equality, literally, is what it means. So you could say I am a gender egalitarian. Of course, egalitarian now, according to the left, means that you're a Nazi or something. Um, but the fact that the word is gendered to me is telling.
Yeah.
And what has it really done is it's moved a supremacy of women. It's emasculated men. We don't let our little boys be little boys anymore. School is, as far as school goes, highly tailored towards female socialization. Boys aren't as well socialized, folks. It is not within our interest. We like stuff. We're all a bunch of autists. We're all autistic. Um, and not everyone. I mean, some of us are more social than others.
Right.
But you're gonna find, we know this, more women in certain fields when it comes to sociability, given a choice, than men. Men like things. Men like ideas. It's kind of the way it goes, and we're taught we're evil for thinking that way. We're taught we're evil for wanting to be drinking beer and smoking cigars. I haven't had a good cigar in a long time.
Speaking
either.
of, well, let me tell you something. I don't know if you noticed, but this cigar is not very good. I've been having to wrestle it this whole stream. I don't do
You were
reviews.
going at it on Saturday when we streamed the
Yeah,
Kiss.
yeah.
You were going at it. That one must have been
Yeah,
pretty decent.
that one was really good. This is well, I know we don't do cigar reviews, but this is a Punch Classico, and admittedly, Punch is kind of a lower tier brand, but good God, I feel like I've been wrestling this thing, and it's got a good flavor and everything, but the draw is impossible almost. Anyway, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but
Yeah, I think the last time I had a cigar, I was at the Accuracy in Media uh gala, and a big old gala, and Ben Carson was actually a speaker there, and all, and James O'Keefe and whatever else. But I was there in part through my wife's work. None of this is me, of course,
right.
folks. I thought that I'm not that charming, uh, nor do I have the dough for that kind of thing. But afterwards, we had a little after thing in the cigar bar across the street, and um was nice.
Is that
It was nice.
it was that in DC?
Yeah.
Is that I've been to a cigar bar in DC. I can't remember.
Oh no, there's a few of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then it's probably not the same one, but funny story. This is my one like big time story I guess I have. I was actually smoking cigars with a young woman that I know who works for the CDC, and she's part of the anti-tobacco lobby. Well, I don't know if it's considered a lobby, but she does something with like spreading information about how tobacco is bad for you. And she was so like, don't let me get caught in here, like, smoking cigars. But really, like, cigars and cigarettes are completely different in terms of how they're marketed and their health issues. So I don't know what her issue was, but she was pretty upset about it. The idea of getting caught in there.
Your body, your choice.
Yeah.
That's the way. I mean, I'm not a heavy smoker, but I smoke, and I no, I'm probably about to give it up because I kind of need to. I'm getting too old to be doing that anymore, but I probably will still have a cigar on occasion. I mean, but like I said, for me, it's been about a year because that
Yeah.
gala was last November, I think.
Mm-hmm. As a hobby, I do enjoy it, and it can be expensive, but I got a humid. Here it is, right here.
You got a little humidor.
Yeah, I got this humidor for Christmas about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and I've never even used it. Well, I've got a cigar in here that I have to try to fix it. But I'm sure whoever bought it for me did not spend a lot of money. I mean, you can get these things for like $30 or $40 sometimes. But Cigar International, I just ordered some because I'm about to actually start using it, and I think I spent like $75 at Cigar International, and it'll be enough to fill that up. So it can be, it can be a lot less expensive than if you're buying them retail all the time, like I did with this one. This one was like $10. And it's just been a lot of work, you know. So, but not to get completely off topic, I just like talking about cigars.
Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We're always off topic. We don't really have a lot of topics.
Yeah.
I did name the stream on YouTube. But speaking of naming the stream, let's get into we'll kind of go a little bit backwards here. I have tech censorship, OnlyFans, and the uninformed or misinformed left, and maybe I'll switch that up later on. I'll fix that. But let's talk about that because you wanted to talk about that as well. This whole Hunter Avalon thing you saw on Timcast IRL the other night.
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna be like a meta podcast where we podcast about other people's podcasts.
Yeah, we can do that though. It's not about Tim. I mean, I mentioned Tim quite a lot.
And even like him, like I'm not even trying to be disparaging towards him. I just thought it was so. I don't know anything about this guy. Apparently he was like somewhat right leaning at one point. Then he got into a debate with Vosh or something.
I used to follow him.
Yeah.
It mainly as not really serious political commentary, but just as fun. Because he kind of has this snarky millennial or Zoomer, whatever he is. He's only like 24. Takes on things, and it was always right wingish, but he's not very educated. He's just not. He's not well read at all.
Yeah, and
he never has been.
And you know, that's fine. I don't. You know, God knows I'm not the most well read person. Here I am. You know, speaking to all three of our followers. About
we have far more than three. But,
okay, but you know, like I'm up here talking shit. I'm not the. You know, I'm not going to be debating anyone because God knows I'd probably make a fool of myself. But I have my opinions, and I think they're based in intuition, if nothing else. And I think there's something to be said about that. But so this guy, whatever, you know, he's young. He may be a complete asshole, an idiot. I don't know. But the thing that stuck out the most for me was he was kind of debating Tim about Joe Biden, and he was kind of talking about, well, you know, Joe Biden might be corrupt, but he's not near as corrupt as Donald Trump. And that argument probably could be had. I'm not a, you know, it is what it is. Trump does come from New York real estate. But Tim was like, well, yeah, you know, whatever, but all this shit with Burisma and Hunter Biden, like that's corrupt on his face. And, you know, Trump got impeached for what, quid pro quo or whatever. And the argument at the time for a lot of people on our side was, how are you going to impeach him for something that Joe Biden is on tape doing himself with this, you know, this viral video of Biden getting the prosecutor of Burisma fired to Ukraine. And they kind of went back and forth a little bit on it, probably about 5 or 10 minutes. And then, you know, this Hunter kid, he kept kind of like pushing back, saying, well, no, that's not true, and there's this and that, and the reason why he fired him was because he's doing such a shitty job, or something. I forget what exactly the excuse was. And Tim kept talking about Joe's corruption as though he figured this kid already saw the video, which is a reasonable assumption to make. I mean, I feel like everybody saw that video. Like, I would have did the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it, but lefties aren't very well informed generally.
Yeah, well, he was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I don't know what you're talking about. So they pull up the video and they watch it. And he ended up, you know, to his credit, he did kind of admit that, like, well, I've never seen that before. That does shine a new light on this whole situation. But for me, the biggest standout for that was that he had never saw that video. Like, I feel like if you've been on social media and you've, you know, argued with people, you know, even if you're just shit posting, people bring up Trump's quid pro quo, and everyone that I saw that ever like pushed back on that point put that video of Joe Biden. And the fact this kid didn't even see that, I don't know that if it's a matter of being uninformed or if it's a matter of just everything about Joe Biden gets suppressed so much on social media that if he's not in, this side of the aisle actively searching out stuff, he's not going to see it. So I don't know.
Well, Hunter lives near me. I'll put it that way. And he's been open about where he lives. And I know the town, Frederick, Maryland, that he lives in. I'm not doxing him or anything. He's said it many times on the stream. I used to follow him just recently, stopped following him. I started watching him on Tim the other day because I was wondering when Tim was going to have him on, because not doxing Tim, but Tim is sort of in that area as well, and near my area. And of course, anyone who has any sense can figure out, like, I literally saw a few things, kind of knew some hints that Tim said and whatever else. If you watch Adam Cast IRL, Adam talks sort of about where they live openly. So, and then people on the interwebs will dox you, and not hard to find out. In any case, Hunter started his YouTube stream, I think, when he was about 19. And it's always been this kind of like little bit of edgy boy, not very well educated. I kind of on the surface level agree with certain politics. I'm not very well educated. I've been following Hunter on Instagram for a few years. I remember commenting, or people in the comments, when he switched to supposed left wing. Hunter doesn't understand he's still right wing, which Tim, I did challenge him on a little bit. He said, no, you're right wing. And Hunter's like, well, no, I don't agree with this and the traditionalism on the right. And it's like, not everyone on the right is that. And two, what is wrong with traditionalism?
Yeah, it is a weird thing that I've seen that pop up a lot.
Yeah. Like no one's pushing that on you. No one's.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if the right was doing what it did in the 80s, and there's like kind of this like Christian right that's trying to make people do stuff. I don't like that myself. But being traditional, aside from the government and aligning with people because of that, there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't make the government make me do your thing, whether it's left or right. That's it. That's all I'm asking. Pretty simple. Leave me alone, right?
Yeah.
But and we're seeing that push on the left, and a little bit I did watch with Tim, that was the big thing he was saying. The left have become the authoritarians. The left have always been the authoritarians. As far as American politics go, but that's another, aside. That's another issue. But Hunter just, like I said, I seen on his Instagram when he first kind of changed. I saw a couple people made videos about it. Now I don't make content like this, although I might bring up somebody like Tim or whatever. But I don't really make content about lefties or sorry, lefties. About YouTubers, about other people. I don't care for that kind of drama. I think it's stupid. But it is a way to get clicks, so I understand why people do it. I like to think that I'm above that stupid stuff, and I will raise my channel and the numbers. My channel being all minus one, by the way, folks. If you're this far, yeah, that's the first time I've mentioned it all night. But it is on the it is linked in the Ants Justify the Memes YouTube channel. In any case, Hunter would make videos about all kinds of different people. On occasion, he would go to protests like in DC and all that, which he does not live far from. And that's good. That's good that he would do on the ground stuff. But a lot of his stuff, like I said, it's just snarky nonsense. And what I saw on him saying on Instagram when supposedly he switched to being a lefty, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're a lefty now," blah 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 blah. He was talking about how socialism has nothing to do with fascism. Everyone, no, socialism or fascism is capitalist. Nazis were capitalists. No, no, you're dumb. You've never read anything. You heard that. You read that on the internet. You don't understand what the fascists, what the Nazis represented. You read their own writings, you look at their economic policies, they were socialist. Was it a different kind of socialist than other socialists? Of course. There are a dozen different kinds of socialism and how to implement it. It's still socialism. Um, so that was one of the first things. Sargon made a video about him when he made this change, and he was saying, good for him. He's figuring things out. He's a young guy. Other people made videos about him, and they were like, talking about how complete trash he'd become because he was on Voldemort's stream saying that Roaming Millennial or Lauren Chen is a Nazi. Now, I personally know Lauren Chen. Like, I have physically, personally met Lauren Chen, hung out with her, whatever, used to be a patriot. I've been on her hangouts many years ago when she was coming up. I know Lauren. I'm not besties with her or anything like that. Lauren is not a Nazi. Lauren is nothing like a Nazi. She's basically a classical liberal. And if you know anything about her, she did a internship with Paul Ryan, even though she's Canadian. She did an internship with Paul Ryan when he was in Congress or the Senate. I can't even recall. He was in the Congress, wasn't he? Yeah, he was the House Speaker for a while. So in any case, and she realized how screwed up politics actually were, when she first did that, because she didn't understand. She had that naiveness that most people do when they're young about the reality of politics. But he said this about a bunch of people. He's like, I've hung out with these people, and I know that they're Nazis and whatever else. It's like, you don't even know what a freaking Nazi is. I mean, Voldemort was on Tim's stream talking stuff about Nazis and fascists, and he doesn't know either. But Tim brought up the other night, again, I probably watched 20, 30 minutes, whatever. We went back into it a couple times. But he brought up the other night, last night, I think, when he had Cassandra Fairbanks on, that these younger kids, and I will call them kids because I'll be 40 in like a month and a half, so I can do that. These kids don't know. They don't know what Nazism actually is. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what these politics are. They're uninformed. They're misinformed. And most of you out there are as well. Now, some of you, if you're in our audience, you might be a little bit more informed because I would like to think we talk at a little bit of a higher level on things, even though we're not highbrow either. I would like to think that
I'm drinking scotch, sir.
you're drinking scotch, yes.
Yeah, so we're obviously very
I'm drinking PBR.
So I guess it cancels each other out.
Hams on the show the other week. Just say it. But look, guys, the left, generally speaking, and the people who think they're leftists, it's all about emotional appeal. It's all about confirmation bias. It's all about normalcy biases. It's all about essentially not really digging deeper into the issues. So when we do a stream, like with a guest like Kizza, or I'm talking to Tank and we're kind of interrupting each other, or we're like, oh no, go ahead, sorry, whatever. It's because we're actually digging a little bit deeper into the issues. We don't want it to be this whole like, oh, we're talking over each other or any of that kind of stuff. It's not about an argument. It's about nuancing things. It's about we all have different understandings and perspectives. We all understand that we have lack of knowledge in some areas and others. And, Hunter said something like he lost like 50,000 subs when he said he wasn't a conservative anymore. He's like, it's not like I helped my channel. The dude has like 500,000 subs.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can afford to lose 50,000 subs and not really have it be that big of a deal, right? I don't really know. I've looked at stuff online as far as YouTube analytics and the money you make based on how big you are and all that kind of stuff before. Just stuff I've seen for ad revenue, aside from super chats, whatever. Supposedly, maybe you can make, 50, 60 grand when you're up in the 200,000 area. Obviously super chats is a huge thing as far as YouTube revenue goes. But I lost 50,000 subs. If you lost half of your subscribers, I would see where you could say, well, yeah, I wasn't doing it to grift. And I don't actually think he was grifting or is grifting, but I just don't think he's that serious of a character and never really has been.
Well, yeah, when your whole brand, I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. But when your brand is kind of like, I'm gonna own the libs, like that only goes so far. And you know, everyone likes to see the libs get owned. You know, it's fun to watch, but it's not the end all be all of like intellectual discourse. And you know that it's kind of the same reason why I have a problem with like Ben Shapiro. Although I'd say he's a little bit. I mean, he's obviously better, but you know, a lot of his stuff is just, oh, look how stupid the left is. Like, okay, yeah, that we get it, you know, but it when it becomes to the point to where that's all the butter that's on your bread, you can't go that far with it. And if you do, and if that is your whole identity or that is your whole brand or whatever, and you go on someone's stream who's like a leftist who will argue, I think he said that the issue with him and Voldemort was transgender rights or something like that. And apparently he feels like he lost the debate. Maybe he did. I didn't watch it, and I don't care. But okay, so you get on there, you lose a debate, or you don't feel like you performed as well as you should, and maybe you got your eyes opened a little bit, and you think different about it. But if you had more to say other than, oh, well, you know, transgender people are stupid, then it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Well, Hunter also got in, like Matt Christensen talks about this a lot. By the way, folks, we will be having Matt Christensen on in a few weeks. We'll probably be pre-recording the interview just because scheduling issues with us. But I've known Matt for, you know, many a years now, like 3 or 4 years or something like that. And a similar thing with him and Lauren Chen, where I was a patron and whatever else, but have kept up communication with Matt far longer than Lauren. In any case, you know, Matt talks about this. There was a window. There was a really good window for developing YouTube, especially if you're in the political side, some years back. And that's one of the reasons why I mentioned Don from Plebeian Media, because Plebeian Media just blew up all of a sudden, but it's because Don is doing unique content on his own. You know, something that I try and do in All Minus One. I'm just sharing my perspective from just all these years of me just reading and researching things and seeing what's going on. In fact, I wanted to start a YouTube channel several years ago, but life just did not permit me the time, or I didn't make the time. And I'm not really a tech guy. I've kind of fumbled my way through this. But I think Hunter just got in at a certain point, and that's why he has 500,000 subs. I don't know if he's grown. I don't know anyone talking about him, though. I go over to Viva Fry's channel on when he's with Robert Barnes, a Robert Barnes stream, and they'll mention Matt Christensen and his take on things, or they'll mention Tim Pool and his take on things. Whereas, when Cassandra Fairbanks was asked about Hunter Avalanche, she's like, oh God, no, yes, yeah, I know who he is. Ugh. So it's a matter of do you want to be that cringe content creator or not? And look, I know the space is saturated, but I encourage everyone to go make content, because if you have a voice and you want it to be heard, let your voice be heard. And it's, for me, it's not a competition with anybody. It's just I'm me, and people like me or they won't, whatever. But my message, the information I'm presenting, is what's important.
Yeah. You know, and like I said, this isn't really to disparage him so much. It's you know, he's a young kid.
Yeah.
We've established that, and you know, God bless, thank God every day that YouTube wasn't like this when I was 19, because I'd have been on here saying some absolutely stupid shit.
Let me just show the audience this. This is me. I'm 25 here. I'm wearing, or no, I'm 24 here, same age. I wore a Rage Against the Machine shirt with Che Guevara, which I'm pretty sure I burned some years ago, with a Russian, Pavel Satsulin, let's say that correctly. Anyways, because I was a kettlebell instructor back in the day. I would never be called dead in a shirt like this today. I I didn't know back then at that point I was still somewhat of a party line Republican neocon. I knew nothing. I didn't understand anything. Um, and I bring that up because, like Tank's saying, if I could be that and go from that, I'm pretty sure that was, yeah, I was 24. And Hunter Avalon's 24. We should give him some leeway. He's young. He doesn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's also probably why the voting age should be 25.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, I guess kind of to bring the point home for what this whole thing was about. You can call the kid uninformed or whatever. He's a kid, but regardless, he had never seen this Hunter Biden video, or I'm sorry, Joe Biden video, and that to me speaks a lot louder than anything he actually said. As whatever your politics are, you did not pick up on something that one is like completely out in the open. It's not like you have to go to the deep web to find about this video. It's completely out in the open. People were throwing it around, and he just did not see it. And his worldview to some extent was formed without this piece of information. Now, I've said it before. I'm anti-science. I do not go and read scientific journals. I don't care. There's a whole argument for that. I guess to make it short, I believe that studies are studies, but most of us don't have access to most of them, and so we get filtered studies through the news, which we know is biased. And that's one of the things he kept saying. Was, oh, well, I'm not going to trust that because it's biased. Well, motherfucker, everything's biased. Like, bias doesn't mean wrong. We
talked about this before the stream.
Yeah.
I actually had someone comment on the last video I made on All Minus One about this, and they're like, "Don't you think you're looking at it through a certain lens, or you're biased?" And they're like, "Well, I think that you're framing things and you're making the information, you're making the information fit your narrative." And I'm like, no, I'm making a narrative when I make a video. Absolutely, I am weaving a tapestry of information. 100% correct. I have a bias, 100% correct. My bias comes from the information, though. It comes from what I've seen over the years. And I know this because of how many times I've changed my positions of things. And I've come to a place where I don't try to really politically align anywhere. And I've talked over and over again about how I have things in common with leftists. It's just that we have different means, to get there. And their means I don't appreciate, I don't like, because they involve murder, death, starvation, poverty, and destroying all of society. And I'm like, no, we don't need all of that to get there. And you're going to regret that. You really will regret that.
Well, to give an example of this dynamic, if you look at any, like, a lot of debates with communists, especially like the more tanky types, the Soviet apologist kind, a lot of people, you'll see this argument like, the Nazis and the Soviet Union were equally as bad. And then people say, well, the Nazis, there's a genocide, they killed a bunch of Jews. Okay. And then a lot of people point out, well, the Soviets killed a lot of Ukrainians in, the Holodomor. The bias there is one side is going to minimize the ideology they believe in and maximize the offenses of the other idea. That's the bias. Both of those things are true. The Nazis did kill a bunch of Jews and the Soviet Union did kill a bunch of Ukrainians. Which one you think worse is kind of just a matter of opinion. but there, the argument's there. That's bias. Those are facts, but your bias leads you down one path, I guess, is what I'm saying. So I don't see anything wrong with bias. I'm gonna get up here and I think that social cohesion is more important than individual rights. That's part of my, political philosophy, and people will argue that, modern capitalism and the industrial society has raised the standard of living for, millions of people. Whatever. That may very well be true. I don't even deny that, but I believe that things are more important than GDP. So that's my bias. Now, am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong, and I don't think that the people that I'd argue with on this are wrong. I just think they were coming from different perspectives.
Yeah.
So getting hung up on bias, it to me is kind of a red herring. Like, bias is what it is. So the fact that he kept going to this, like, oh well, that source might be biased. Well, no fucking shit, dude. Of course they're biased, but why does their bias matter in this instance? And he kind of never. I mean, and no one does. Again, this isn't just about him. A lot of people, I feel like, make this mistake.
Well, I mean, that's what I got. Why did you use the Federalist? The Federalist is biased. I'm like, well, is it any more biased than? I was like, I don't like the bias of the Washington Post or the LA Times. And folks, like, I will reply to you, generally speaking, if you comment. I mean, there might become a point if I have too many subs, too many comments, I can't do that, or I can only comment on a few. But this person had a long, thorough, like, thing about what I was presenting, and basically I was making arguments against masks because we have CDC studies, we have lots of studies that say that they don't do anything. Now, there are new studies that came out this year that magically say that they do stuff despite all of the science that's been done previously on this issue. Well, renowned epidemiologists that say otherwise from Oxford University and whatnot. However, I don't care if you want to wear a mask or not. I'm just saying to just, like, here's the real information. Don't make me do it. Let me have a choice.
Yeah.
And that's always my thing. And frankly, I don't like it. I just wear a bandana. Generally, if I have to go in the store or whatever, I'll put one on and I pull it down. I might put it back up when I'm around people for their comfort. But I don't like it. I don't like the way I feel when I have it on there. It is harder to breathe. And frankly, unless I'm coughing and sneezing, and that was something else that he said, whoa, how can you say asymptomatic people don't do this? Well, this study says, it doesn't show when people go home to their family. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to even dissect everything that you're talking about. Like, he's saying, this particular individual is commenting, saying to me, when you are, this study says that there's so much compliance as people still got sick, yet when they got home, they're not wearing the mask. And it's like, why would you need to wear a mask at home if you just wore one out? And you can't catch the virus because of your mask. Like, think a little bit.
Well, and that's the issue.
And to go on, well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's conspiracy here. There's this and that. Okay, I freely admit all that. But at the same time, as I admit all that, I don't talk about sources I can't substantiate. I don't bring up things that it's what I've read. And that's what shaped my worldview, is what I've read and what I understand.
Well, I agree with you about the mask, and I haven't read a single study on it. I don't give a shit, and I'll tell you why I'm anti-mask, more or less. I actually didn't have a problem with masks when the headlines are saying that COVID-19 is droplet spread. They're like, the virus travels on droplets. You spit when you talk, whatever. So the mask blocks it. That, to me, intuitively, that makes sense, right? If I'm spitting on people when I'm talking, or I'm sneezing on people when I'm talking, okay, I get it.
And reduce it. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
100% agree. 100% agree.
When they said it was aerosol spread, well, then I'm like, well, unless you're wearing like a pretty particular kind of mask, like maybe an N95, I don't even know if that would work. But
I think an N95 is rather effective from what I've looked at.
So
and I mean, people don't know what you do, but I do. But how, I mean, you've been fit tested for an M95, I have no doubt, because I certainly was in my previous professions.
But my state
But it's
law, but according to state law, which is what my work goes by, we don't have to wear N95s. We just wear
right,
normal cloth mask. Um,
right.
and so if it's aerosol spread, well, then it's in the air. So any air that escapes your mask, your cloth mask that you bought at Dollar General, um, that comes out the sides or whatever. Intuitively, that leads me to believe that the mask, if it might have somewhat of an effect, but not much. If you're sitting in the same room with somebody and that has air that's not being recycled through a filter, then you guys are breathing the same air, regardless if you have a diaper on your face or not. And that's an intuitive thing. Like, I don't need to go to a study to look at that. Now, I've seen people make the same point, and some of the pro-mask people say, well, this study said this and this study says that. Well, I kind of call bullshit on that without even seeing the study, because it's still air. Like, water runs downhill. You don't need a study to tell you that.
Every mass study tank that I'm aware of, I'm not saying I've read every single study, but I do go through data. Um, it's either if it's pro mask, it's not well conducted, generally speaking, but it always has flaws in it. One of the articles, I will probably put this video out tomorrow. I didn't get to it today. I had a lot of mic time last week, so this week, and I had some family stuff going on, and I just didn't get to putting out content yet this week. So this will be the first thing. But one of the videos I will be doing probably tomorrow is going to be going over this thing again a little bit deeper. And I've done numerous videos on the coof. I mean, this is about compliance, it's about scaring the population, it's about the Great Reset. It isn't about the reality of this virus. If it was, we would do this every flu season.
Yeah.
Like 1000%, we would do this every flu season. And by the way, folks, flu is a greater risk to the youth than it is of the SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19. Um, we we're doing this because people who are globalists want to reshape and reset society. And that's why Joe Biden said the Build Back Better thing, because the World Economic Forum put that out. That's why Boris Johnson said it. That is why Justin Trudeau said it. And that's why the Pope just said it on December 4th, if I'm not mistaken, where I got that tweet from earlier. So, real quick on this point, aside, like, I don't want to keep going down this rabbit hole because we're going to talk about tech censorship, and we got about 15 minutes left in the show or so. Um, Tech censorship, of course, hid the Hunter Biden thing, where a lot of people thought that they would, if they'd seen that, they would not have voted for Joe Biden because they didn't know about it. Also, no, Naomi Wolf, which we've, I believe, spoken about before on the show, who is a feminist activist and essentially not a serious person. I'll put it that way. She's not really a serious. She thinks she's a serious person, but she's uninformed, misinformed. And I know this because she put out a book the other year that was talking about laws in England against homosexuals, and she completely misunderstood the laws and had it backwards, thought it was to oppress homosexuals when they actually were protecting them. But she said, she put out a tweet, I didn't know that Joe Biden was pro lockdown. And if I had known that, I wouldn't have voted for him. Why didn't you know that? We do know, people who do read information and who try to stay informed. Someone like myself, who's usually ensconced in 8 to 12 hours of news a day because I'm a crazy person. Um, we do know that people who are on the left usually tend to only read left wing sources, and people who are on the right read everything that they can. Now, they might focus more on right wing sources, but they often will read the left wing sources. It's an interesting principle to know thy enemy, not just know yourself, but know thy enemy, right? Know who you're up against, know what they think. And to a large degree, because they own all these cultural institutions, I don't really need to read a lot of leftist stuff because I just get inundated with it anyways, right? Like it's just in my face constantly. And I know there are a little more nuanced arguments on the left where sometimes people will say, well, that's not what we really believe. These are this people or that people or that we don't really believe. It's like, okay, but you're still supporting the same institutions that are projecting this. So I don't care. You're still my intellectual enemy. And I would like to make peace with you, actually. In fact, we agree on a lot of stuff. Like, I don't like corporatism. I don't like global war. I don't like I don't like big government. Although lefties generally like big government because for some reason they don't understand that giving government more power is not intelligent. I don't know why. They're like, everything that's wrong with government needs to be changed. We need to give them more power. And it's like, so you want to more of the same? Like what? I don't know, man. Anyways, I do have to pee, Tank. So you can talk. I will be able to hear you if you just want to. It'll just take me a few minutes, if or a few seconds, unless you want to hit the be right back screen with 10 minutes left in the show.
Yeah, I'll be RB. Go ahead.
All right.
All right.
All right.
We're back.
We're back. We don't have any live viewers tonight anyway. Someone did pop in for a minute, but they went out. But that's okay. You know, we'll take live viewers when we get them, and if we don't, guys, watch it at your own time. You know. In any case, the whole tech censorship thing is essentially a way to keep people misinformed or uninformed. And leftists just don't go down deep dives, and they tend to trust institutions more, I think. And I don't understand why.
Well,
They trust the institutions even though they think all the institutions are corrupt. It's kind of silly.
yeah, you know, I think that might be part of a cultural thing because you think like most of your leftists come from metropolitan areas. We talked about this with Kizza, but very few. You see very few leftists in the blue collar areas. So there, especially like you take something like Virginia, right, which is just that whole state is full of NGOs. Like it is the deep state, you know, Virginia. And even
Northern Virginia, yeah, right.
and even like your general like Republican politician, you know, they became a politician either one because they're corrupt as fuck, or two because they believe in these institutions. And it's really only your dissident politics, which really is just the dissident right. There's not too much dissident left you see, except for like, you know, I mean, you've got like outspoken communists, but these guys are going to vote blue no matter who.
The tankies, yeah.
Yeah, you know, so it really doesn't matter. But you know, the dissident right really is the only group of people that has an outspoken distrust for the institutions. Um, and it's warranted, of course. I mean, I think everybody knows where we stand on this. But so yeah, you got this culture just kind of like sort of recertifies itself all the time that that these institutions are good and not corrupt. Even if there's some corruption here, it's kind of like the election fraud thing. Like, oh, there might be some fraud, but it doesn't matter. Well, it does, and
Matters a lot.
Yeah,
if you want to have a fair system.
Yeah, and these institutions are the same way. Like, they'll say, oh, some of them might be corrupt, but look, it's kind of like, that's why I like people to go back to Moldbug. Like, he kind of put out the thing, like, these institutions are corrupt. They've always been corrupt, and there's a reason for that. Because there's a lot of money to be had in upholding. I mean, that's kind of like the whole thing with this whole election fraud thing, is you see a lot of, Republican congressmen or governors or whatever, that, or even the SCOTUS, I guess, that seems like they don't want to call this election into question because it's going to call all of United States democratic process into question, and they've got a lot to lose if a lot of people start calling bullshit on that.
Yeah, well, institutions is an interesting topic because we came from a nation that didn't have any institutions. We created institutions, but I don't think they were ever meant to be like Europe. But it's kind of like the nature of man to do such a thing, to put all their faith in the institutions. And I think it is the wrong way to go. It's the group think. It's the way to basically make yourself not an individual anymore. And tech plays on that because tech says, "Oh, do you want to be part of the group, the in group or the out group?" In the in group, we have all the right information. And obviously, the more conservative folks, and again, I speak to American conservatism, not necessarily other forms of conservatism. Um, now, Tank would be a neo-reactionary. I am not such a thing because I'm not a believer in monarchy. But again, reactionary is kind of a silly term to my mind, to going back to any institution that was already established. And we could technically say a reactionary in our time is someone that just wants to go back to um, the governmental institutions being the uh, the leaders of everything. I mean, how far do you have to go back, for instance, to be a reactionary? Because right now, what I see is happening is that the governmental institutions are failing. People are seeing how they've been exposed and how terrible they are. But big tech, that's the new institution. They are our new saviors. They are our new leaders. They control the flow of information. You know?
Yeah, you're right. Reactionary is absolutely a stupid term. Um, and I've seen it argued. I've used the term neo-reactionary myself, but I've seen it argued that really what the neo-reactionaries are arguing is that, and Moldbug's guilty of this, that, there's almost like it's like monarchism with a techocracy, sort of, because a lot of the dudes from the actual neo-reactionary movement are like Silicon Valley bros or tech guys.
Well, Moldbug was obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So yeah, there's absolutely a lot of criticism to be had for me. Like, I'm very tech skeptical anyway. Definitely not where I'd want to be. But yeah, you're right. Like how far back do you have to go? Well, the joke I make for people is, conservatives want to go back to the 1950s and reactionaries want to go back to the 1450s. But none of these lines are really drawn. it's more just. I mean, the reactionary is a term that I'm almost positive was coined by communists, and it was,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, absolutely.
anyone
Yeah.
who wanted to, like, the communist revolution happened, say in China or whatever, and then guys that were like, maybe this communism shit isn't all it's cracked up to be. They were just called reactionaries. Um, you know, I use the term because it makes things easier. And I do kind of want to take a lot of the wind out of the sails of the communists who want to say, oh, you know, they use it as pejorative, and I'm like, I don't really, it doesn't bother me. Um, but yeah, you're right. Like, and that's the problem with all these political labels. Like, even like, you know, the alt right. Like, does that even exist anymore? What was that? What is the alt right? Um,
It was never
yeah,
anything.
you know. So
And people talking about it being the alt right and all the white nationalism, all that stuff. Everybody who supposedly was only all right are all leftists.
yeah,
They're all leftists. But the people out there don't understand what leftism is. They don't understand it's revolutionary. They don't understand that it's always authoritarian. They don't understand it's socialism and communism. Fascists are leftist folks. I will say it time and time again. I know at some point, I don't know, we might do the show for 5 years with, you know,
yeah.
with like 40 subs or whatever we got. But I don't think that's going to be the case. But in any case, um, like I will say it time and time again, what you have been taught, you haven't been taught. You've been brainwashed. Because if you go and read what the realities are of these systems and ways of thought, these ideologies, these philosophies, and these economic systems, and they're all left wing. My philosophies, ideologies, if you would, I don't really consider myself an ideologue, are right wing as far as American goes because it's classical liberalism. It's the foundations of Americanism. We talk about going back to a time, I want to go back to the 1920s, aside from the 20th Amendment, which banned alcohol. But of course, I can live without alcohol. It's not a big deal, but just I think it's stupid. And that should be a lesson to folks. We don't even think in certain terms, like drugs are illegal now. There's, you know, debates about that all the time. Why did we have to put a constitutional amendment into um, the federal constitution to make alcohol illegal? Well, for the same reason why we would have to do that for every other drug that is currently illegal. None of that stuff is constitutional. I watched Tim Pool last night. We keep talking about Tim, but whatever. They were talking about the gold standard, whatever. And I see that the stuff in him, and he's closer to your age than me. Not that you're that much younger than I am, but he he was talking about, oh, didn't they were talking about Nixon getting rid of Bretton Woods and getting off the gold standard completely. And they're like, didn't they ban gold, all this stuff? And it's like, that was FDR, you idiots. Why don't you know your history? Why don't you know that FDR like destroyed 2/3 of all American wealth overnight by executive order, by essentially saying the Constitution is no longer valid, where it says within the Constitution that the only legal tender is gold and silver. And they don't know this. And then we were on that standard for a long time. And then Bretton Woods came up after the Second World War happened, where we were on the petrodollar and or sorry, we were on an exchange, a gold exchange reserve dollar, which again was the value 2/3 of currency, only to foreign actors. And then all of a sudden we went to the full petrodollar with Nixon. And all that was to bolster up China. In retrospect, in my opinion, that's all it was for. Um, but why don't they know this stuff? You know, why are I get it? Like, and I liked him because I think he's great for normies. But that's exactly it. Like, why do you have these people on there? Cassandra Fairbanks, Luke Rudkowski, and Luke is awesome. You know, from We Are Change. He's willing to go down rabbit holes. But why don't they know this stuff? Why isn't this in public school education? Why did I have to learn about this stuff by getting into libertarianism and anarcho-capitalism, and I'm not exactly either one of those things. Why are they the only people espousing that? And this idea of tech censorship is exactly this. Only the left-wing ideas are allowed. Only they, the elitists, can decide for you or me how things are going to be. So I don't know, dude. You got any
No, I think we can talk about managerialism and kind of how it has become like the prevailing ideology in society. Maybe this weekend when we talk with Kizza, because I think we're talking about environmentalism was something we had on the docket. Because we're going to do that Saturday, right?
Yeah, yeah. So anyone who might watch this later, understand that we are probably going to do for a while, since Kizza is available on the weekends. We're going to do a Saturday stream around 3 p.m. every Saturday. We decided because we like Kizza so much. He's been on our show, I think, 4 times now.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
For a younger chap, he is quite bright, very well read. And we do what we always do. We just kind of talk about various topics within the political, philosophical, religious sphere. I actually have meant to go rewatch that because it was a really fun conversation, and we went all over the place with it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know what to call it. I was like, I gotta label this, and so I ended up what did I label it as? It was something like here, I get it pulled up here. Yeah, from leftist to religion with love. Because I thought from Russia with love, because I'm a James Bond fan, at least the Connery days. And yeah, we talked about that. We talked about religion. He talked about atheism because he's an atheist. And this is the kind of stuff, man. Like we can disagree on certain philosophical point of views, but as long as you don't want to impose your viewpoints onto me, we can live together. And that is the problem with the left right now. And that is the problem with the tech censorship. That is the problem with all these folks that are like, oh no, the right's authoritarian. They want to leave you alone. And then they're like, accept my LGBT, butt sex, because if you don't have it, you're a fascist. It's like, no, man. I'm not into trannies, and I'm not into dudes, and I enjoy my monogamous relationship with my wife. I'm not going to be polyamorous, and I'm going to worship God as I see fit, and I'm going to do my own thing. And what's most important, no, I'm not going to make you do anything I believe in.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess that's a good place to call it, and then because we're going to be with Kizza this weekend. I know you got anything else?
No, man. Tank has nothing else going on, so he's got nothing to plug. I mean, he's got a day job. He's got a real job, unlike some people. But you can find me over on All Minus One on YouTube. I am getting my stuff uploaded now. I've had a library for a long time, a library account, but for some reason I haven't kept up with it. It wasn't uploading. It is now. It should be uploading everything I have on YouTube over there. I have started a Rumble account. Rumble says it does uploads, but it doesn't seem to. BitChute is also terrible. So I have older uploads on BitChute, and I'm supposed to be doing automatic uploads over there. Doesn't work for me. But I'm trying to work out those tech issues because YouTube will not be here forever. YouTube is left wing, authoritarian, and will censor us. So those are the other outlets that I am on. That is All Minus One. The name comes from a essay in John Stuart Mill's On Liberty. If all mankind minus one person had a different opinion, it doesn't mean that their opinion would be wrong, essentially, is what the beginning of a statement is. And I do whatever I want to do on there, man. I cover politics. Sometimes I do a little bit of news, but a lot of it's philosophy, history, understanding where leftism comes from. Sometimes I cover religious subjects. I probably will be starting a exclusively religious, historically and textually religious um, page here soon, uh, because it to me it's just important, and I'm compelled to do it. So go over there. We are here at the Ends Justify the Memes every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. We're on D Live, the Ends underscore Justify underscore memes. Of course, YouTube, the Ends Justify the Memes. And we will be doing a Saturday stream for the next couple of weeks with our friend Kiza GT, who is often on is the Unix Corner Club. So I guess that's everything to plug, man. I don't know what else. What we got a Mines, right? You got a Mines.
Yeah, but no one else is on mine, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, we don't really do the social media plugging, guys. I put my stuff up on Parlor, but I'm not about to like, not that I'm like being all secretive about it because I put this stuff on my Facebook too. So, but I'm not trying to help myself into being doxxed. Not that I care that much because I'm in West Virginia and 50% of the population owns guns. Um, but in any case, that is the show. So with all that, folks, remember the ends always justify those memes, and you can play that outro, Tank.
I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream